So, I've said this before, but a lot of the problems in this country are not caused by us being members of the European Union. Yet that is the prevailing perception, I'd say, of the vast majority of Brexiteers. Instead of blaming, well, short-sightedness, lack of government, austerity, the real reasons that are the predominant reasons that of so many things that are going bad and wrong with this country, the stuff that the EU has nothing to do with. There is a large delusion that a lot of these people suffer from, that for some reason, if we leave the EU, all these problems we're facing now will just magically go away. They'll just drift off into the ether. But that's not going to happen. And I think people really need to take a serious, genuine look at themselves if they think that's going to happen. So I'm going to read some comments from Tony Blair now. So basically, he was recently at the World Economic Forum in Davos. A lot of people you might have heard have been there recently. And so Blair was there. And he basically said, where is it? Yes. There is nothing that would make me change my mind to thinking that this is a regressive move for our country. But I think the country would proceed with Brexit if the government succeeded in bringing forward a deal that retained the benefits of our single market membership without the obligations. It's just that this is an impossible thing to negotiate. He then added, will the public really shift its position once it sees the deal the government is bringing forward? We don't know. But if the deal is the one I suspect, which will be a hodgepodge, where the government tries to stay close with Europe and leave without leaving, I think it is going to be a very, very difficult to persuade the British people that it is better than what we have now. Mr. Blair said he took on face value of Labour leader's Jeremy Corbyn instance that he was pro-Europe. He added that the Labour Party feels, for reasons I understand, that it's got to say we are still in favour of Brexit, but when you see how the Labour Party is moving, it is moving very much forward to a let's keep the single market position. It nuances that in ways it says, but I think in the end there is a majority within the Labour Party for keeping close relationships with Europe. I think the movement you will get to this position is a very short distance to the next position, which is to say, let's not give up our seat at the decision-making table, but still be present, but still be a passive recipient of European rules. Mr. Blair then went to say that Brexit was harming the country by distracting policymakers' attention away from key issues to which they should be devoting immense amounts of time and effort for preparing Britain for the impact of the transformative technological advances. So, yeah, I agree with Tony Blair there. There is, I think this year, I think by the end of this year, I think there is a very good 50-50 chance there might be a massive mind shift on Brexit. Because this is the year, and it's going to start in March. That is when it's all going to start happening. When we see what deal it is going to be. And we already know what the deal is going to be. Europe has been extremely firm on what is going to happen. That we are not going to get any special arrangements. We will, if we are in the single market, we will still have to conform to EU rules and regulations, and we will have no part in the decision making of those processes. You know, this is, Brexit is not going to be the be all end all. And here's the thing: this is what I can see happening. I think if that happens, let's say that is the deal that is put forward, I'd say in September, wouldn't put it past the Conservative Party to put a leadership challenge in. And I think you will see a very, very hard right field of Conservatives put in. And I think you will see a lot of these people basically blaming Theresa May, David Davis, anyone currently that's got anything to do with Brexit, that it's not the fault of the fact that Europe is the one holding all the cards, and the fact that they have always and always will have a far stronger position to do, you know, to do with us as they will, basically, than we have with them. You know, us, as I've said before, us leaving the European Union, to them it's nothing but a blip. It will be a momentary blip on a ladder, and that will be it. This idea that, oh, well, they'll have to, you know, they're not going to survive without our contributions and whatnot. The European Union has already pretty plainly said in their impact assessment, by the way, that it's just going to be a blip. It'll sort itself out. They're not worried about it. Even long-term consequences, they're not worried about it. The Brexiteers multiple times had said that it will be the German car manufacturers and the manufacturers over there that will force Angela Merkel to do a deal with us. They came out and said, no, we're in favour of the single market. This idea that we can remain in the single market but without having to pay into it or follow any of its rules or accept, like the European Court of, you know, the EU courts jurisdiction over those certain rulings, is an absolute fantasy. It's been an absolute fantasy from the very start. You know, go back to some of my beginning Brexit videos. I've been saying this constantly, and I've been backed up by European leaders saying the exact same thing. And now you have a lot of the British leaders. Tony Blair has now said it. And there are a lot of other UK MPs that have said the exactly same thing. We are not going to get any better deal than we have now. So you have to really ask the question of yourself, why are we going to leave? What upside is there to leaving?